Hey everybody, how you doing? Burnie here, Friday at 2 o'clock. It's got to be Burnie's Applebox. And I am here with a very special friend today, a friend of the show. He's been on several times, Mr. William Hellmuth.
Burnie, always a pleasure.
How you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good.
Awesome, awesome. So I had William on because I want to talk to him about a job he just got done doing over in Asia. And want to get the what fors and how it happened and what you did. I know there's a lot more work going on there now than certainly when I started in the industry, but it's a pretty active market, and I'd like to hear about your experiences. But before we do that, let's cover a couple other things. We might have Gary Hyman coming in and joining us, so he's going to be on a call-in if we could make it happen. You know, and just let me tell you about live, and it's easy now. You know, because I think you even said that statement to me. Live is so easy now. It is until you try to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and live is easy now on a phone with Facebook or stuff like that. But when you're doing something like this, it's a little different, you know, because you're making connections. You're using another service. We have a switching service called vMix, which is a wonderful platform, but you know, it's like any other platform. It has its protocols, and if it doesn't like the way you did that protocol, then it says no, you can't do that. You know, so that's kind of what we're dealing with Gary right now. And also, William, another thing I want to talk to you about, because then I have some specific examples of this, is what your client sees when you're on set.
Right, yeah.
And I'm talking about the whole picture now. I'm talking about, you know, what you're in control of, what you're not in control of, and how you present to that individual client and what they might see, you know, because I think it's very, very important. You know, they hire a person, not the equipment.
Absolutely.
And if they don't like the person, doesn't matter how good the shot was, the equipment was, you're not going to get the job.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I can bounce off that a little bit right now.
Please, please.
Yeah, I mean, what I found a lot of, you know, there's some things you can control on set, some things you can't when things go out of control. And a lot of what your client sees is just how you're reacting to these problems that come up. And it's really easy for me. I mean, I'm not even like that much of a perfectionist necessarily, but it's easy for me if I don't know how something's going to be done to kind of say like, well, I don't think we can do this because I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
But what I found really makes a big difference when I'm on set is, you know, let's say a client brings some last minute idea to me and I don't know how it's going to be done. I don't lie and tell them like, oh, you know, of course, like I can do that, no problem.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can still say, you know, I've never done that before. I'm not quite sure how to do it. But let's put our heads together and see if we can figure this out real quick. You know, and that can make a big difference, just that like positive can-do attitude.
Well, you hit the nail on the head, I really think, William, and that is we can solve anything. You know, who's nervous, right? You may have spent all night worrying about the shoot the night before, but when you walk on that set, you need to own that set.
Exactly.
You know, especially as a director or a director of photography, you know, you're going to be in charge of a big portion of the shoot, and people want answers, they have suggestions, and there's changes. And, you know, if you're in any decent sized crew, you're going to have a lot of people there underneath you who you are actually responsible for, and it's not the first thing you're thinking about is managing that crew. That's why you have a best boy. That's why your gaffer is on top of what his crew is doing, and your key grip and all that stuff. It's very... You've got a lot of things to think about, and a lot of people are watching. I always say the G&E crew, the crew, is the show before the show starts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And they're listening to every word. How many times have you had a director come over to you and say, hey, one of your guys just said this. Are we behind? Oh, no, we're not behind. No, we got that all fixed. He meant something else. Or whatever, but you want to really be careful on panicking the client, because remember, we're on set every day. They're on set once every 6 months.
Right.
You know, and their anxiety is high. Lots of dollars, little time. You know, and you really want to make that a good experience.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I've been told, and this is partially a personality thing, but I think it's also something I've kind of I make a conscious effort to do is I've been told that like I can have a reassuring presence on set, like a calming effect, you know, and I think, I mean, it's not because I'm walking on trying to be like all, you know, zen all the time.
Yeah.
It's just
You
like
just are naturally zen all the time.
Yeah, right. No, it's as simple as just not like freaking out at every little thing that goes wrong.
Yeah.
You know, like not losing my cool.
Yes.
It's just yeah, when there is an issue, just like recognizing that that's just how it is, and now we're gonna have to figure out how to make something awesome all the same.
You know, I really think you just nailed it right there by not losing your cool and looking at it as a problem, and then taking within yourself that calm place that you just say to yourself and solve the way you normally solve problems. You know what I mean? Here's what I have. What are my alternatives? If I have no alternatives, I have to come back and then just, you know, fix what I can fix or readjust and deal with the client. Most problems you can fix, though.
Oh, yeah.
I have found on set. There are very few problems that crop up that are major.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that you cannot overcome.
Yeah, filmmaking is, I mean, one of the things I like the most about it is there's so many different ways to get to the same results.
Yes.
And you just have to know how to think about it, how to think about, you know, the camera and angles and light and everything. And once you know that, then, I mean, there's so many ways. It's, it's not
It's not a thing, and it's personalities too. You want to make sure that on your crew you don't have anybody too out there sharply. You know what? I think we might have Gary. Do we got Gary back? Is Gary with us?
Yes.
Oh, let me introduce the guys too.
Here.
There's Sean.
Sorry, guys. It's always something going on back here.
Yeah.
Something cooking.
Yeah.
All right.
Tony's here with me.
Hey, look at
Hey.
dinner in the, on the edge over here.
Yeah, we usually make social media posts just 5 minutes before the show. Then we get ready.
right.
Yeah, so you want to pop in, Gary?
Yeah, let's pop Gary in here, see what we got. Oh,
Hey,
there he is. Wow,
there he
look at
is.
that, man. I'll tell you, talk about star power. Look at that guy.
Those sunglasses,
You know?
man.
I swear,
Yeah.
that is hot. Where are you at, Gary? Now, I can't hear Gary if that's...
I can't hear him either.
Whoa.
Okay.
He
No
can
Gary.
hear us.
You can hear you, but we can't hear him.
Okay, he can't hear. Okay, we can't hear him, but Gary can hear us. We're going to try to fix that. So let's just go back to the two shot with William and I, and we'll try to get Gary on the horn.
Sorry, Gary.
So, you know, I have had a situation come up this week, which brought me to that subject, and it was a couple things happened. Actually, I had a client from a big national company come out, and I turned them on to somebody. They wanted to do a particular style of shooting.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it was highly technical. I'm not even going to go into what it was because that's, you know, neither here nor there.
Yep.
She asked me for the suggestion of whom she should go to for this. You know, and when your clients trust you enough to ask for a reference, you're obviously very cautious with that. You know, you want to give them the best and make sure there's no ifs, ands, or buts and such. So the guys that I knew that did this particular technical shoot she wanted to do, I knew very well. Now, they're in a startup mode. You know, they are very highly advanced technically with their project. You know, workflow issues, I think, are something that they're still developing.
Yep.
You know, so I put her out. Now, remember, she's from a big company, so she's got marketing people with her for this shoot. She's got, you know, still photography, you know, coming in to document and get shots, you know, do all that. She's got just a number of people who are with her on this trip to see.
Yeah.
So there's a certain level that I kind of forget about, that if you're not ready for or don't do a certain process and procedures that we do when we're on set. You know, we have a really way of working a set when we first come in. Everybody knows first steps, everybody's offloading, we're setting up C-stands, we're getting flags, we know we're the first ones. I'm usually giving assignments for power and bringing power in because I know what my lighting is going to be already and all of that stuff. So that's one thing. what she arrived to was something that was, first of all, on her way from the airport to the shoot, she got a email that personnel had been changed. So the person she had been talking to wasn't going to be on set, and somebody else. So that immediately, remember, she's got an entourage with her. She's like, the heart sinks a little bit, you know, and you go, well, I don't know this person, I haven't communicated. What do they know about what I want? You know, and so that's out there. She gets out there, and remember, this is not a normal type shoot, you know, but what she saw was very bare bones. And that I know, because she's been doing production for 20 years, that set off some alarms.
Right.
You know, so it's something that she doesn't recognize, she's not comfortable with. There's, you know, some people there, but no one seems to be in charge. Everybody has their own technical thing they're doing. They're executing, they're getting ready. But there's no person there that she identifies, there's my contact, that's who I talk to.
Explain what's going on.
And she doesn't know anybody else's level, so she's got to. So now, with no problem, you know, and I might add, this is a sunset shot. She gets there at 6. Sun is going down at 7:30. So now we're in a very compressed timeline, you know. So she comes in, and she doesn't know who to go to. So her experience now, even though nothing negatively has happened on her shoot, is very stressful for her. You know, and at that time I got a phone call, and she, you know, her question was, "Who are these guys?"
Oh man,
But I was like, and I have to say, I have full confidence in these individuals that they will deliver to her what she wanted. It is not an issue of can they do it. They can do it. They do it. It's going to happen. I would not even have suggested it, or I would have qualified my suggestion had I thought there would have been any other problem with it. You know what I mean? So she comes out, she does it, and then that's the first day. Second day, I think she talks to somebody, and now it's a little better, and it's a little more organized and done. But in all of the time that they're doing this too, she says, my problem was not having somebody who is walking me through the process. I see they're doing stuff, but don't know how it works, and I want that assurance of how it works. Admittedly, it's not just hand-holding, because she's in charge of this project, and she has to make certain decisions and has certain things in her creative that she wants to make sure come across.
At the end of the day, like, that's her responsibility to make sure that happens.
She has to walk back into the lion's den with the people who paid for that and explain why she got or didn't get what she has. You know, and that is the bottom line. And she is the person on the line. You know, so I see it from both sides. I will say this: when I made the suggestion of her going with those people to get that shot, those service providers, I really did not think about where they were in their process of being client ready. You know? And I say that as a mistake on my part. You know, that's something I did wrong. Before I made that suggestion, I don't know how I would have ascertained it, but I should have had a talk with the person whom I referred before I referred her. Of course, it's right there. She called me up for the referral. These are the guys that I would refer. You know? So that was it. But I guess I made an assumption that everybody sort of has that same level of client understanding on set. I got beat up a long time ago with that. I learned the hard way, just like they did. You know what I mean? You treat a client like a customer. They're not just another person on set. They're not one of your set buddies who's there every day. You treat them, you reassure them. That calming influence, as you say, that is your strongest tool.
I mean, and for me, a lot of it is I mean, at least as a DP, is setting expectations beforehand. So, like, you know, you had mentioned the setup was pretty bare bones out there.
Yeah.
And well, if it's going to be bare bones, then I always try to just let the client know, you know, hey, at this time of day and with what we're trying to accomplish, we don't need much. So it might not look like much, but let me walk you through like why this is costing you what it's costing, basically, you know, like,
Right.
yeah, just set expectations so that they know what to expect. Like every day isn't going to have a giant like grip forest or, you know, all these lights.
Right.
It's, they're going to be different.
Yes.
But if a client doesn't know that, then they might walk on and say, you know, why did I pay all
Where's
this
my
money
money?
for? Yeah,
Where's my money?
yeah. So setting those expectations beforehand, and then on set, like you said, making that conscious effort to just be there for whoever your client is. Like for me, the client might be a production company or a director. It's rarely ever the end client.
Yeah.
But even then, like the end client is someone that I need to be conscious of, that I'm behaving
Absolutely.
professionally.
Absolutely.
And I think like a lot of it has to do with just kind of a top-down thing. Whoever's producing, if there's some sort of expectation there on their client's behalf, you know, that
Right.
like, for example, maybe they just expect everyone to wear button-up shirts or something like that, you know, or
Right.
dress a certain way.
Yes.
Well, the producer needs to make sure that that's communicated to everybody, and
That's exactly.
and that doesn't always
And,
happen.
and you and me as the gaffer, I've got to make sure all my guys
Exactly.
read that call sheet, not
Yep.
just the address and call time.
Yeah.
There's specific wardrobe
Yep.
suggestions there that you should come appropriately
Yeah,
dressed
yeah.
as, you know. And that, I think we got a question, Tony?
We have a question.
There we go.
Woo!
So, Austin Sabato.
Austin
Austin.
Sabato!
Hey, Austin. Actually has a question for William.
Oh boy.
He wants to know what was the most challenging situation you were on set-wise during the Asia production, and how did you get through it?
Okay, well, I mean, we could jump right into Asia now, I guess.
We
That's
could.
cool.
Yeah, let's
do it,
go
yeah.
with Asia.
Bring Gary.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, let's
Oh,
bring
we got
Gary.
Gary.
Is Gary here?
Gary's
yeah,
here.
let's get him here.
Okay.
Are you here, Gary? There you
I
are.
can hear you.
I can
Hey,
hear
we can hear
you.
you.
I
There we
can
go.
hear
Oh,
you.
Ryan's
Great.
calling in. No wonder. Yes, 1, 2, 3,
Put that on airplane. All right,
Yes,
Ryan will
1, 2,
call in.
3.
He'll see you on TV
Burnie,
and call
anything?
in. Yeah, I've got you. I've got you.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. You can hear me.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I
can
can't.
you-
I can't hear you guys, so I'll have
He
a one-sided
can't
conversation.
hear me. Okay, we'll try to fix it. We'll try to fix it. Just stay here and smile, Gary. Just stay there and look good. Nod your
So,
head like
Bernie,
you're
I'm out
listening.
here at Pacific City in Huntington Beach, California, doing a location scout.
Okay. Okay, that's
testing all
awesome.
the new beers that are at this restaurant. This is beer
That's
number
good.
10.
Oh, I see. I got it now. I got it. Okay.
Someone's got to do it.
Gene's in the background.
Gene's got it there. Yeah. Gene would make a nice Vanna
Cheers.
White, I think. Yeah. That's awesome.
I love it.
All right. We'll get back to you, Gary. We got a question that was just asked by Austin Sabato. So we'll get back to
Unfortunately, I
that.
can't hear you. You
I
might put
got
them
you.
on?
Okay.
All right.
Pot him down then.
Gene's
Pot
going
him
to turn
down.
on the. Let's see if I can hear you guys. Stand by.
Okay.
That sounds great. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah,
All right.
let's answer Austin's
right.
question.
Yeah, so I got back just last Thursday. Yeah, so last week from actually 2 shoots out in Asia, one in China and then another in Indonesia. And that was those were a couple shoots for Zach King's studio. Zach King is he's...
Yeah, tell us who he is.
Yeah, so he's a guy who has this studio, and he kind of built his brand around doing these like magic trick videos that are super fun, really interesting to watch. Anyway, now he's on Instagram and YouTube, and I've been doing some work with them this year.
Yeah.
So I got a call, and I did a terrible job explaining who he is, but just Google him. Like, you'll figure it out. Anyway, so I got a call 7 days before the shoot to ask if I could go DP the shoot in China. And then that went from a shoot in China to also a shoot in Indonesia. So China was probably, I don't know, they're both really challenging in their own ways. China, nobody in my crew spoke English. It was all...
So how did you tell me this? How did you communicate when no one spoke English?
Pointing.
Really?
So, yeah, it was like
It was down to that?
Yeah, so we had a location scout the day before, and that got me really nervous because we'd go scout these locations, and I would try to communicate to my lighting team there, kind of what I wanted to do. And we had a translator there, but the translator didn't know. I mean, she's a producer, so she's kind of familiar with production, but like American and Chinese terminology, they're different.
Yes.
So I would try to kind of communicate to her, you know, what I wanted. I mean, for example, out there, and I already knew this beforehand, but out there, like, they don't, things like, you know, quarter grid or full grid, they don't have names like that, or like, well, different types of diffusion. You know, they go by the numbers. Like, you know.
Oh, but by the, like, Roscoe numbers.
Yeah, the Roscoe
stuff.
numbers, like 1003 or
interesting.
1030 or whatever. So I was literally, like, on the way over there, like, Googling
You mean
the
they're
numbers.
doing it the right way?
I know, yeah, the way it's supposed to be done. So I'm, like, Googling numbers, like, you know, for all the things I want, you know, and then I get there and I'm like, I want, you know, these diffusions or whatever, and some of them, and they brought them, you know, like, it worked out, so that was nice. But, like, that was kind of the first challenge. I had to sort of re-educate myself a little bit. Because I'm so used to saying, like, oh, okay, we're outdoors, like, let's just get some, like, opal up or something like that, and I have to know, like, learn, and I've already forgotten what the Roscoe number is for that, but, like, I had to learn the number and communicate that to them.
Right.
But we're doing the scout, and I'm trying to kind of, like, communicate through the translator what I want, you know, from her to the gaffer, and then the gaffer would have thoughts about maybe how something I wanted maybe couldn't be done. And then would communicate that to the translator and then back to me. And then it was hard because on my part, there wasn't a lot of confidence that what I wanted was being accurately interpreted.
Yeah.
And then what the gaffer was saying was also being, you know, I'm just...
So you're like I think we're there.
Yeah, like I think we're there. Anyway, but what I just kept thinking was like, we just need to get there on set with the gear, because I knew, you know, like we had a
Once you
12
got
by
on
frame.
set with the gear,
Yeah,
you could make it work.
exactly. And sure enough, like it took probably a couple hours to get in the swing of things, but we did. And once we did, they were really efficient. You know, like I was able to point to, like they skinned. They put up like a couple 4x frames, you know, with the diffusion I wanted, a big 12x frame with silk, and what we mostly ended up using that for actually was just negative fill, and they just had a big black piece of fabric they just tied around the edges of it, you know, and we just so I was able to just kind of point, you know, like let's put this over here, you know, and the gaffer would kind of be sitting there, you know, watching me, and then I'd point to the sun. Because I was going to be king with the sun or something, and I would kind of motion towards the 4x's with like the really light diffusion, and say, you know, let's put that, you know, sun in between, you know, like this, and he'd be like, yeah, okay, and then he would just be like, I'm okay.
I know where you're going.
He knew, like, you know, the 2 English words. He was like, I know, and so he'd just kind of say that, and I'd be like, okay, and he'd get it, you know. So just kind of like, we're just like really very like rudimentary. Communicating,
but you get it.
Yeah, exactly.
It.
Like, and that's the cool thing, is that a lot about filmmaking and lighting and stuff like is pretty rudimentary. Like, and even like some of the more complicated setups we did, I was able to kind of point to that. Like, there's this one where I was hitting the ground, going to some bounce, so it was bouncing back up towards the actor, and then I was diffusing that to just make it a little bit softer. Yeah. And I was able to just you know, with no translator, just kind of use the hand motions to communicate. You know,
but they work in the same
simple.
field all the time.
And it helped that I had a really good crew. The client there we had like the director of the TV station there, kind of like you know, owner. And he handpicked this crew, and I mean, and they were really good. So that was cool, even with the language barrier there, because my crew, they just knew what they were doing. Yeah. It worked out.
It worked out.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
You know what, Sean? Can we go to a commercial right now?
Yeah.
Let's go to a commercial real quick, and we'll be right back. Hi, I'm Burnie. I own Burnie's Grip and Lighting, San Diego Grip and Lighting, and Los Angeles Grip and Lighting. You know, we pride ourselves on not only renting you the best equipment, but also giving you the best crews. And one of our core values here at Burnie's Grip and Lighting is that we give you the highest production value in the world. And remember, people used to say national, local. No, we present world-class production value on every set. We also know budgets are very tight these days, and you've got 10 hours to get what you need in the can. We move ahead, we move fast, and we know what you need. When you rent from Burnie's Grip and Lighting, you have a partner on your production for that day that is making sure you are well taken care of. So anytime you're in Southern California, give us a call at 714-609-3545, and we'll take very good care of you. See you on set. Hey everybody, welcome back. We're here with William Hellmuth.
Here we are.
And Gary Hyman is floating around out there somewhere. We're not entirely sure, but he may be popping in here pretty quick. That was China. Talk to me too, before we go on, what was the physicality of it like? I know you went on a pretty short notice.
Yeah.
And tell me about the experience of that type of flight, that timeline, that jet lag, and going to work. What happened there?
Boy, I mean, it was tiring. We got on a flight about like 1 a.m., flew, I think it was like 16 hours, something like that, into China, and then scouted locations like that day.
That day, so after a 16-hour flight, you went out on scouted locations. Yeah.
So, you know, I'm just completely exhausted while we're scouting. And so it basically was just like, you know, rest when you can, you know, like, I mean, no, we weren't like, after a day, you know, we wouldn't go out and have like a leisurely dinner because we were exhausted, just like have a quick bite to eat, get back into that hotel and just like crash, you know, it was really, really tiring. It was extremely hot in China, like the part of China where we were.
Yeah.
So
humid.
Yeah, humid and hot. Just basically had to resign myself to just being soaked all day long.
Yeah, it was sweating it out.
But yeah, I mean, it was. Oh yeah, and then every single scene was a different location. So you know, we're just constantly driving and moving all over the city. So all of the setups just had to keep them just as efficient as possible and know exactly what I wanted to do before we got to the location, which was great with the Scout, because then I just knew, you know, like, okay, here we just need the camera, you know, it's just a quick B-roll shot, you know, Zach's skating down the streets or something. Or over here, like, we're going to bring in, you know, these lights or this diffusion or whatever. And that's actually something, like, a sign of a good crew too, I've noticed, is we went to a couple locations where I'd tell the gaffer, you know, we just need camera here, and he would still bring along a couple, you know, like some bounce and some diffusion, like just in case, you know.
Oh, just in case, of course you do. Of course you do.
You know.
Because you want to know something? I wished I had $1 for every time a DP told me, we don't need anything but camera over here. Hey, can we get an Applebox? We need a sandbox. You should always have a little crash cart
something, you know. Yeah, it's funny. So, like, you know, he'd bring that, and sure enough, you know, and I'd end up thinking, like, well, you know what, actually a little bit of diffusion might be nice right here. And then out it comes, you know, like, ready to go.
That's a good gaffer. You had a good gaffer.
Yeah, no, he was great, you know, real solid. But yeah, I mean, it was, I mean, just constantly on the move, just totally exhausted by the end of each day. Jet lag, I've been pretty good at. I mean, we were flying business class, so luckily we were able to, like, fully recline during the flight, and I was able to sleep like 3 hours, you know, so that's not bad.
No, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Did we ever get Gary in? No. He's we just can't hear him, and he's on there, but
oh, he's there. We can hear him, but he can't hear you. So
isn't it coming over? Should I wonder if his volume's on?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd think, you know.
You better maybe make sign language. If you can hear us, turn your volume up, Gary. Will you? Turn your volume up. Oh, that's funny. And you know, we're doing a little Instagram. You just took your Instagram, so we're on IGTV today.
That's right.
Here for about an hour, and for the hour of 2 to 3. And so if you go to William Hellmuth's Instagram, you can watch the show on Instagram, see behind the scenes show.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
See the lights and everything.
That's great. That's great. So, yeah, let's. I'll tell you what. How are we in the show, Tony? What's the timeline in the show? Where are we at?
30 minutes in.
30 in.
Halfway
30
there.
in.
Okay.
I wonder if we shouldn't just take. Can we go to Onset University and then we're going to come back and we'll go to Indonesia and we got some video of that and all that good stuff.
Great.
So yeah, let's do that.
Burnie's workshop is fantastic. Burnie's workshop is awesome. Burnie's workshop is insightful.
Burnie, in one word, passionate maybe. You can tell he really cares a lot.
Burnie is a badass.
He's a great teacher. He has great stories, and I would recommend this to anyone. Not only someone like me who's starting day one, but I feel that in any profession, as you sharpen your sword, it always gets sharper.
I think the best thing about this is the access to understanding how to run your business, how to actually be in this filmmaking industry and make money at it. Coming to this workshop, I think, is what actually gets you the tools to understand how to do that, how to get out there and sell yourself.
I thought that was really cool. I thought, he knows all the tricks in the book, and he knows how to show that to us and actually demonstrate it so we actually know what he's talking about.
I really like the hands-on experience. That's something that you don't find a lot. That's something you have to go on set a lot to just appreciate.
I know this is lighting seminar, but it's not only talk about lightings. He also share his business experience, personal experience, and guide us to what we should do, what kind of personality we should have in this business.
His stories, I think that kind of say everything in a few example stories that he gives out from time to time.
I would recommend this workshop to anybody who just brand into the industry, people who just don't know the swing of it. A lot of the stuff they don't teach you in film school.
I deal with a lot of freelancers every day, a lot of peers that I went to school with, a lot of professionals in the field, and they all need to take this class because it puts you on the next level, on the next playing field.
Burnie's a great guy. Burnie's really authentic. Like everything he learns, everything he teaches, the way he handles himself, the way he deals with other people, he's a one-of-a-kind guy. Someone I've never come across before in the industry, and someone I hope to emulate and hope that there are more people like him out there that can help.
Hey everybody, and we're back. And William, we actually have a couple questions here.
Okay.
William Primrose wants to know, what type of lighting did you use over there? Was it outside China, or were they Chinese-made lights that you used?
Yeah, so as far as gear goes, I was able to shoot on the Amira with a nice airy lens. The Allura 18-80 zoom is very nice. So like camera gear was all pretty much the same. Lighting gear, it was mostly the same too. I had an M18.
Okay.
A couple of those. I had, a lot of their smaller lights, like the panels, they had like some like light wands, those were Chinese made, but they pretty much did the same things that our lights did
Anything here.
Yeah, I brought some of my battery powered quasars and showed that to them, and then like the next day they came back with like their lights that are like not exactly the same, but like very similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with them using their their gear. They know how to use it. Light's light. So.
And there was no flicker or anything.
No, everything looked really good. Yeah. But I mean, the equipment was actually like very, very similar. Which I don't know if that's the case. Like with all the time, in shooting a place like China, but or if it's just because like the place, the client there, the TV station, just had a lot of top-notch gear.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but but gear was actually a very small. And, even if it was different though, one thing I've learned is like a spotlight's a spotlight.
Yeah.
Or a panel's a panel. Like you're gonna use
aside
it all
from it
the same way.
crashing while you're
yeah,
shooting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? It's all the same light.
As long as it doesn't do that.
They're all
the
photons.
same. Yeah. So yeah, that was the gear. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, so it worked pretty good. How about the grip gear? Were they Chinese C-stands?
The grip gear, I never got a real close look at it.
Didn't really get a feel on that one.
Yeah, but there was the interesting thing about shooting out there is like no sandbags ever anywhere.
No sandbags.
Yeah, and that's was flying a 12 by outside, but they just had a lot of bodies there. So people just, standing on.
They were body bags.
Yeah, basically.
Body bags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was different. Yeah, but you know, it worked.
Interesting,
They did it.
interesting.
Did the trick.
And Tony, we got another question over there.
We do. We actually have another question from a frequent visitor, Angelique Costanza.
Oh, Angelique.
Who would like to know from William, how many people did you travel with, and how did you decide who was a must-have?
Well, let's see. Let me think about this. I mean, as far as people I traveled with, that actually wasn't up to me for the most part because, so my client was King Studios, you know, Zach King and his whole team. They're just based out of here, out of Orange County. And their client, the end client, was this Chinese TV station. And so really, like, the people being brought over wasn't really determined by me.
Yeah.
So we were hiring local, you know, lighting team, local AC, stuff like that. Really, the only people that traveled over there were obviously, you know, you got Zach King, his producer, his director, myself, and then like a few other just kind of, you know, support people.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting like a VFX supervisor.
Okay.
You know, people like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's see. I think it's something like 5 people.
5
Small,
people.
just the core
And you
people.
didn't bring anybody over with you as your crew.
No, I didn't
per
bring
se.
anyone.
It was just
yeah.
you.
If
and
I could
everybody you
have,
got
I would
with.
have.
Yes.
But basically, like when you're flying to the other side of the world like that, every person
Not
you fly
cost
out,
effective.
yeah, it's a huge cost
Yeah.
for the client. So
Yeah.
really, it's like they're really only going to fly the key people out
Oh
there.
yeah, the ones they need to.
Yeah, so I had to
Yeah.
get local everything.
Got you.
So, yeah.
Got you.
Uh-huh.
Do we have anything else, Tony? Is that it? Okay.
Can I take a look at some of William's videos?
Yeah, let's go to let's do this first though. What I'd like to do first is just ask everybody, please share the show. I didn't ask you to do that in the beginning. And please give us questions, likes, you know, let us know what you think. Anything you want to talk about, even if it's off subject, it's all right. So yeah, just give the word. But yeah, let's talk about Indonesia now.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess right before going into the first video, so right after China, Zach's team decided to shoot a short film in this private island on Indonesia.
Okay.
And there was no client for them for that. It was just an
Something they
original
were
production
doing
of their
internally.
studio.
Yeah. Yeah.
To basically promote the brand, you know, and it was great. Like lots of fun. The script was great. I actually didn't read the script till like less than a week before leaving, you know. But
I had 16 hours on the plane.
Yeah, I mean, but the shoot, they didn't determine to shoot the film until like, you know, 7 days before they left.
Wow.
So like it was
and
last
that's
minute.
how fast the turnarounds are.
Oh,
now.
yeah.
7 days. 7 days later, you're in China shooting.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Right?
But the script was great. Like as soon as I read it, I couldn't wait to go shoot it.
Yeah.
And so we're on this tiny little private island. You could stand in the middle of the island and be 50 feet away from the shore on either end.
Yes.
And there are no resources anywhere. I was able to find a first AC from Malaysia to fly in and basically just help me, you know, wrangle the camera and pull focus for me and stuff like that.
How'd you find him?
I found him through Facebook. The challenge with him is that his passport got stolen 2 hours before his flight left.
Oh my God.
And so he wasn't able to make it, which is one of those things in that part of the world, like I guess any part of the world, like
any
people
part
get
of the world that
pickpocketed.
could happen.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things. It was just a bummer. I couldn't wait to work. I mean, I still hope to get back there and work with him someday. Actually, he's a great guy. So we are kind of like we were already needing to find like, you know, local gaffer, key grip, you know, small team like that. We needed to be just very, very mobile and keep it really small on this island for a variety of reasons. So our producer ended up, after we landed on the island, finding a local crew from Singapore. And they came out on a boat. So I just had an AC, a gaffer, and a key grip. But it was, you know, that's enough to do some good stuff with. And so they came out there. I mean, you talk about last minute. They got a call Monday morning and were getting on the boat to come out there Monday night. Like, just like that, you know, like, yeah, it was crazy. So we're on this island, and Monday morning, I didn't know if I was going to have any crew at all besides myself and, you know, the director and an art they had like one guy there for like art set dressing, you know, and like and then some staff on the island to maybe help, who volunteers that, oh, we'll help hold things. I'm like, well, okay. So I'm trying to think of creative solutions. This kind of goes back to what we were talking about, just a positive attitude, you know. We had a lot of scenes to shoot in a jungle, and I thought, you know, sometimes in a jungle, in trees, you get those deep shadows, deep shadows, and then harsh light, you know, on it, which can look weird on people's faces, but look great in the background.
Yes.
So I'm trying to think, like, what can I do? I had about 6 or 7 hours before Zach and his co-star for the short film got there. So we had about 5 or 6 hours Monday morning to set up, and I thought, well, maybe I could take. We had 12 by quarter grid and a 6 by quarter grid. And I thought, you know, maybe I could take those and maybe like hang them up in the jungle around where they're going to be doing, like literally like just take rope and tie them to branches and, you know, just put them up, just to kind of help soften that shadow on their faces. But we still get that those shafts of light in the background. Anyway, so that's kind of like the first morning where I'm in that like improvisational mode is where the first video is. I guess we could play that a little bit.
We can take a look at that.
May have given away almost everything from that.
Oh,
video,
that's good. We want to see it. We want to see how it was done.
Yeah, I took these actually because of you, Burnie. You told me to record stuff, so I was like,
good.
Okay,
good.
Yeah, sure.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Okay, good morning. Here we are. First official day of production. We're gearing up now to shoot a couple scenes in the afternoon after Zach and Nate get here. A couple of challenges we've had. I think just part of filmmaking on this part of the world. We've had a couple crew cancellations, so just people not being able to make it for various reasons. So we're trying to find some crew members, and I am trying to plan for making the shoot work in the event that we don't get the crew members. So that's basically looking, you know, a first AC and a grip team. So probably going to be looking to do a lot of the rigging myself, and rigging in a way that I can set it up and then just start shooting, and maybe have a couple of spare hands around doing some things like holding bounce and whatnot. So that's some of the gist of what we're doing. So the first stuff we're shooting is in the jungle that you can see behind me. So we're shooting in here this afternoon. And luckily, the jungle's probably going to be one of the easiest places to pull off with limited resources. So yeah, I'll show you what I'm going to do. Okay, so this is where it's kind of our first location, or at least the general area. I'll get you specifics when we're setting up, but basically what we're going to be doing is shooting in those trees right behind me. You can see them up there. And it's the scene where Zach and Nate, the other actor, are running around here, and they're setting off a bunch of booby traps. So my concern here is basically shooting in broad daylight. We're going to be getting a lot of harsh shadows from the sun, which, you know, I kind of like. But also it can just look really, just really bad, like on people, to have all of that going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let all of the shadow and light kind of be in the background and add visual interest there, because it'll fall out of focus. And then what I'm going to do up here, kind of in this area where you can see, I have 12 by 12 quarter grid and 6 by 6 quarter grid cloth, and I'm going to actually just use rope and hang those from the trees up there above the actors, and get some leaves along the edges to disguise them. And that's going to basically be the area where they're going to be doing the scene. And then aside from that, we have a 5-in-1 photography bounce. I'm just going to use probably the silver side to bounce some light onto them, probably as an edge or something like that, to kind of give that hot jungle feel. And maybe even as a key every now and then. I'm not sure, but you know, we'll figure that out. So yeah, keep you posted as things progress. Okay, so that is where I was that first morning. And so yeah, like I said, I was planning on hanging stuff and maybe doing some, like, bouncing some light. It went, I mean, I did nothing that I was planning on doing. So basically what I found after kind of looking around there a little bit more, getting camera up and getting actors in the space
and looking
everything,
at the frame,
I realized, like, yes, there were some harsh like shafts of light that looked bad on skin if half was in shadow, half was in light. But if I just scooted the actor over a few feet, then they would all be in shadow, and it'd just be soft light bouncing off the ground right into their face as a nice soft key.
Nice.
So what I did after, so that's what I did. I just blocked actors in the shade, and then I would use like I had a couple of my battery-powered quasars, the Quasar Q Lions, which are like just my absolute favorite on-location lights.
Yeah.
Surprisingly bright. And I just had, I mean, we still didn't have any help that day. I didn't have an AC or a gaffer, key grip, anything like that with me that day. So I just had to pull my own focus, block the actors in a way that, you know, I wasn't needing to rack back and forth.
Yes.
And then we got the, I put them in the shade. Sometimes the light would be hitting them kind of from the side and be like a nice 3/4 key, and then I would get a quasar, just get a PA or someone to, actually on the day one, it was an actor who wasn't acting in the scenes currently, and he just said like, hey, I'll hold these lights.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
I handed him like 3 of my quasars stacked on top of each other, and he would just stand off to the camera for either a backlight, or if the sun was behind the lead actor, and you know, I'd put him in the shade, use the sun as a backlight, and use the quasars to kind of lift him up a little bit, lift his face. And just kind of, you know, I just did that, and it looked, you know, it doesn't look weird, it looked natural, and it looks really nice, it looks cinematic. And you know, it was basically realizing pretty quick that like I just wouldn't have the time to like do all this rigging by myself and kind of like, and then like taking it down, you know. But like, hey, I'm an optimist, you know, and then and you know, you get in this location and you're in this mode like problem solving, you know, like let's see what we can
that's
do.
all you're doing.
And for that, it's like no option should be off the table. That's my opinion, you know, like just
very good.
Just think about it and try it. If it works, then awesome. If it doesn't work, then I mean, you've lost. You know, you're back to square.
You haven't lost much.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's kind of what I ended up doing. On day 2, I got my little crew, and that's where this next video, where I did this next video is. If we can roll on that real quick. Yeah. Here we go. Okay, here we are, day 2. Quick update on yesterday. I found pretty quickly. I just didn't have the manpower to actually hang anything from the tree. So I realized the best way to get a cinematic look was just kind of blocking the actors in the shade of the jungle where the sunlight wasn't directly hitting their face, paying attention to what the natural light was doing, and then supplementing that with my 3 quasar lights that I have on hand. So that meant either like if the sun was behind them, just using the quasars as a nice subtle key, or if the sun was coming in indirectly in front of them, using the quasars as a little bit of a backlight. And it worked out pretty well. Today I have a crew, which is the biggest update. So we're about to shoot in this location here, where they're coming up that path, and I plan on using, again, just like the natural light as a backlight, and then I have some bounce, so we can bounce some light back on them, again using my quasars probably for a key. And then I'm getting, my gaffer is setting up to be able to, we have like a 6x ultra bounce, so we can maybe do some negative fill and obviously bouncing light on their face. And yeah, I mean, again, it's still leaning into the natural light and what it's doing. It's just now I have a little bit more resources available to maybe shape that and modify that. So I'm excited to see how that goes. And yeah, we'll see.
Well,
there we go.
That's it.
Anyway.
In a nutshell, that's it.
Yeah.
So you were just throwing into all these situations just like that. How many days were you on the road total?
I was gone 10 days total.
10 days.
Yeah,
Wow, that's a long haul.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're working those road shows, there is no time off. I mean, you are constantly from when you wake up in the morning, you're gearing into the work, and then afterward, you're usually just dropping, as you say, like on the hotel bed, and waking up in the
sleep
morning.
when you can.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, no, that's a big job. But you seem to recover okay, huh? How much recovery time did it take you? A day or 2, or were you just back out?
I just kind of like got thrown right back into life. So you know, that's
I know there is no recovery.
I had an overnight shoot just a few days after getting back. So you know.
Yeah, that's right. The one you got my van on, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing, dude.
It's fun stuff.
That's amazing. And we got some still pictures, I think, right, Sean? We got some. Let's take a look.
This is in China. So that's just an example of like, you know, the typical rig there. Yeah, and this just kind of shows how
And
easy
what are
it
we
was.
looking at? It's a little far
the
away
big,
from me.
Yeah,
so.
no, so we got that big 12 by there,
Yeah.
and that has a silk on it, and then they just have this big black sheet that they just tie onto it over the silk when I want a negative fill.
Great.
And so, like, that just kind of shows, I could just point to that and just tell them, bring it in a little closer, and then over there on the left side of the frame, they've got a nice, like, shiny board there we're using for bouncing some backlight on, and like, and the only thing left in this that they did was bring in, they had a couple 4x that they brought in for some diffusion, and so, and this is my setup on the island that we were just watching.
Okay.
Again, going for a pretty like compact setup, a zoom like that meant I would never have to change lenses. That's the Ursa Mini Pro.
Okay.
That's my personal camera.
Okay.
And then that lens is just a Zeiss 21 to 100 millimeter zoom that I actually really liked.
Just like you got everything you needed out of that.
And this is kind of our typical setup there on the island. We're shooting on the beach. This was a 2-shot, and we were able to take that 6x with a quarter silk, which the gaffer brought. And,
quarter silk, beautiful.
Oh, it was perfect for sunlight. Just still getting that edge,
I've always loved the quarter silk. Sometimes it can be a little too light. You just need more diffusion, but boy, in so many situations,
it was perfect for this because I wanted that hot island feel, but for some of these close-up shots, I didn't want
that blaring,
quite so harsh. So that, and then you can see oh, well, here, go back. Yeah, the gaffer's in the white shirt waiting in the water. He's holding a shiny board for like a shiny backlight, which I tried to do on here as much as possible to give it that feeling of heat. So anyway, and then the next picture, gear in China. There's a question about that. There's my camera set up there in China.
So, and
super nice.
That's your camera, and that's your lens. And
You brought it's not mine. No, but that's what I was using in China.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, actually.
Yeah.
I have a question. When you're traveling, especially when you're on gear, do you check that camera, or do you actually take that on board?
I always carry it on.
Yeah.
I never let it out of my sight.
So, I don't know if I don't know if the folks heard that question, but it's
the question was, when I'm traveling with my camera, my gear, do I check it or carry it on? And it's I always carry it on. Yeah.
Carry it on
as a safety issue. I've heard that that's the best way to do traveling with expensive camera.
I have a carry-on size camera case that's very efficient, and I can fit everything in, and that's what I do. Yeah, this is just the Indonesia location here.
Okay.
I just want to share this.
Where
this is in the hut that I was sleeping in.
Wow!
And that's me building the camera. I've never built my camera in quite as gorgeous a place, but it was beautiful.
Yeah.
So we go to the next picture. But and that's me with the camera and the setup, giving an idea for the size.
Oh, there's your new Facebook.
Me with my
That's the new Facebook photo.
Yeah. And that's the trusty old battery-powered quasars. They were the stars of the show for this shoot.
That's awesome.
So they worked great.
That's great.
And that's and here we are too, another setup here.
Where's
on
this?
the island.
What island were you on?
This is Indonesia. It's called Pankil Island, and it's this little. It's just gorgeous. I've never been anywhere as amazing.
Just magic.
It's a tiny little island, and it's a resort. So there are these huts on there. There's staff of about 20 people bring you delicious food all day long, and just wait on you. And the meals are the best you've ever had in your life. It's just these giant lizards just kind of moseying around the island. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
So anyway, ocean is gorgeous out there. Just a beautiful spot. So
And what city were you in China? I don't know.
Hangzhou.
Hangzhou.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So also a very cool city, very cool architecture. I don't know if we have any pictures that really show any of the architecture there. Yeah, there we go. So that's the building there. At the bottom left corner, you can see there's a bounce board down there lying on the ground.
Okay.
And there's a light just out of frame bouncing off of that so the actor's going to be blocked kind of right in front of that, and that light's simulating like a spotlight on the ground.
Okay.
But I didn't want to literally just get a light and shine it on him because that'd just be way too harsh.
Yeah.
So just bouncing and diffusing a little bit there to make it it's still spotty, but it's got a little bit of the edge taken off there.
Yeah.
There's just a really cool. Oh, and I also got to do some purple light in there too. Yeah, and that's us getting off the boat as we arrive in Indonesia. Yeah.
Wow.
And just beautiful.
Wow.
Amazing spot. But it's also we're shooting out there, so any of the grip gear, all the camera gear. It came on that boat, you know. Just
wow. You
yeah.
got one shot at it.
Yeah.
You're not running back to the truck.
No, yeah. Like we just had to make sure we had. If we didn't have what we needed, then like, well, too bad. You know, we're making a movie anyway.
Incredible.
So yeah.
You're gonna pull it off.
Yeah. One way or the other.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Just after this trip, your best advice to anybody going on the road right now. What did you forget that you would have wished you would have remembered?
Let's see. What did I forget? Boy, I don't really.
Maybe not anything physical, but is there anything? Or did you nail it?
I mean, I just think like I think being flexible is key. Yeah. You know, like I mean, and being a problem solver. Like, just don't get married to what
your idea.
Yeah, your idea of how you think it's going to happen. Yeah. Because you're going to get there and nothing is going to be how you planned.
Right.
So be ready to show up and improvise. You know, but at the same time, like be well prepared. Like there was no major gear I forgot.
That's great.
I can't remember a moment of like, oh no, we need this kind of gear, this piece of gear, and we just don't have it. I mean, in Indonesia, we started trying about a week before to find a good production team, you know, gaffer, grip, AC, stuff like that. And we still weren't able to get one secured until after we had landed. Wow. So just be prepared that, like, you know.
Wow, it took you that long in a place like Malaysia?
Yeah, it's the time difference. You know, the time difference, the language barrier. Like we'd be emailing people and they wouldn't even understand what we're saying. You know, like we're trying to like it's just hard. It's really, really hard. Yeah, it's going to take you like probably twice as long to get all of those things secured. Yeah. One of the things that I learned, like with China, for example, if I wanted gear, I couldn't just give the name. I needed to send a picture of what it was I wanted.
Oh, yes.
You know,
I've done that with clients in France. We ended up going to, this is a picture of what we call this. Yep. You know what I mean? And that actually straightened it out pretty well. So that's using the phones and the cameras. That's a good thing.
So I'd say, you know, give yourself extra time when it comes to gear and crew.
Right.
Because everything's just twice as hard.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons.
Yep. So, and I find the smart ones start a month, 6 weeks early.
I mean, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you get those last minute gigs
you don't know till 7 days before, right?
But if you're able to give yourself that month, do it. So,
do it. William, thank you so much for being here today, buddy. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And we want to keep track of you, too, about what you're doing. So we're going to ask you, start giving us some call-ins during the show. Call in from set. Let us know how you're doing.
Super fun.
And we'll show some more of your stuff on here.
All right.
All right, buddy.
Sounds good.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us today on Burnie's Applebox. We'll see you next week at 2 o'clock. Cut. That's a wrap. Cut. That's a wrap.